Oh, it's my fourth attempt on making this video with the dog barking and lawnmower on the backyard. So I'll try my best to get this video out. Now, I should have made this video 2 years ago when the event actually happened. Now, the event that I'm referring to is 2015. A schoolboy from Parramatta, Sydney, killed a police officer working in Parramatta headquarters police station, and the boy just shot and killed him. What actually made me to make this video right now is because after I watched the verdict speaking TV panel talk with surrounded by all these professionals from their point of view on tackle this issue, because this issue came across as claimed to be an ISIS attack in Parramatta. So it went on international news and national news as well. So some of you guys might know it. I'll put the video link somewhere around in the bottom. But also, I think the panel talk is lack of understanding what's it like to be a student who's primarily in a western suburbs in Sydney. I'm a former student who attend the exact same high school from the 15-year-old boy. And yes, the police headquarters is literally behind our school. So during that time, I'm really aware of how the geographic around the location, what they're referring to. And as well, the funny thing about the whole thing is that you got the PCYC, which used to be on the same road at the same time. So I just PCYC is pretty much just police center, youth center. So where youth can communicate with or interact with each other in that area. So it's pretty, it's like getting slapped on the face, where they try to build, youth support centers for youth, for them to interact, where this incident happened, which is just opposite to the road. So I'm speaking on a student behalf. What was my experience on this school, and maybe help out what's it like to be predominantly in a Western school, Western Sydney. But I'm not sure, things may change nowadays, so I'm only speaking on my era. On my era is pretty much talking about 2013 to 2006. I stayed out in the western suburbs probably be like 5-6 years. So 5-6 years. So during the high peak of time. Also, Current Affair has been showing news about before the event. They also showed there's a lot of gang activities been going on through my time and era. And Brothers for Life gang was just what the recruitment time was going through during that time. And yes, I'll tell you a bit about what's it like. But first, let me just show you this Mark Latham on this panel talk.
However, before we get to Anne, Mark Latham, you're first up. How do we stop this? Where is the problem?
Well, Carl, it's a problem that's been a long time coming. It started in the 1980s with family reunion or unskilled Muslim migration to Western Sydney. Whole or large parts of suburbs have got welfare dependency problems. And it pains me to say, in Western Sydney there is a Muslim problem. After Man Monis, who came from Western Sydney after the shooting last week, we have to recognise this is not just radical Islamic ideology, it's also people with too much time on their hands, too many opportunities to sit around in groups bitching about Western culture, bitching about the American president, bitching about the Australian Prime Minister, and getting up to no good. So the best thing the federal government can do is get these people out to work, break down the welfare dependency in Western Sydney. And in many ways, it's not just the question of stopping radicalisation, it's how do we promote normality, normalisation in Western Sydney, so people are making a positive contribution to society.
And you're a counter-terrorism expert. What do you think of what Mark just said then?
Well, what I've just heard from Mark is a range of very simplistic strings of answers that are always rolled out every time something like this happens without any understanding of the complexity of the situation.
Well, you can say that coming from Perth.
And with all due respect, do you work with these young people? I work with the young people who have been radicalised or are becoming radicalised in Perth and in Sydney and in Sydney and in Sydney. It is not a socio-economic problem. You have young people who are becoming radicalised from all stratas of society. It is not a socio-economic problem. It is not a problem that is a Muslim problem of Western Sydney. It is not a Muslim Western Sydney problem. It is a social problem that is embedded in a range of social issues. And what we're seeing now is not what we saw 10 years ago. It's a rapidly changing environment. It's a rapidly trending and transforming environment. And we cannot continue to rely on those one-liners that we were using 10 years ago to explain things 10 years ago. We need to take a much more comprehensive look at what's happening here and not fall back on these simplistic one-liners.
They're not stereotypes, it's reality. And if you talk to the federal police and the spy agencies, most of their activity is taken up listening in and trying to infiltrate these groups. They've got too much time on their hands, up to no good, driven by the radical ideology.
Can I say something?
And that's a big part of the
We're
problem.
just talking about Sydney, Australia, Perth, whatever. We are the tail of the beast. This is a huge international network, not unlike international communism that was trying to bring down democratic society through the 30s and 40s. And Julie Bishop put it very well in a very strongly worded speech, which Malcolm Turnbull should read in April this year, that it's a new and a virulent form, and it changes all the time. It's like a medical bug that is constantly re-engaging, and it's now working on very young people. And what it is very much like Bill Shorten said the other day, that what we've got in our midst are older people preying now on younger people.
Absolutely
They are
not.
preying on younger people, and they are like pedophiles prey on younger people. And as a Catholic, and I feel that the Muslim community have got to be much stronger on this. Whenever we have a disaster, the first thing they do is say, oh, everyone's picking on us. Well, we're not picking on you. Like a Catholic, I don't say everyone's picking on me.
When was the last time you went and spoke to the Muslim community and they said that to you?
Jackie, you've been deep breathing since we came on air. What would you like to say?
Look, I tell you, there's 600,000 youth unemployed around Australia. Okay, why aren't we bringing back national service, a trade and apprenticeship scheme? Okay, there's other countries that run it. Right, let's get productive. Instead of bitching at each other, let's find some answers here. That's one thing I'm putting on the table to Turnbull. Okay, we need to get these kids and we need to get them work. We need to reinstall their morals and grassroots and their values.
He mentioned about jobs for these kids. Now, before I dropped out of high school, I went on giving an opportunity on giving jobs, and which is a total failure. All right, most of the students who I know who dropped out with the same reason on getting a trades or apprentice is a bunch of lies. So pretty much, I'm not going to name that teacher because I think that teacher is still working there as a counsellor. He pretty much, took us to trade schools in local, like Granville, TAFE, and giving us an opportunity to get us a job. Or I wanted to be a plumber during that time, but he said it's very easy to get a plumber job. So which made me drop out high school. So I dropped out high school, and those who drop out high school. As how the teacher persuade us, or at the same time, where other students been dropping out who wanted to go trade school, most of them couldn't get it. It's just that it's so difficult at the age of 16 or age of 17, getting a trade school, getting to the trade sector. Most of the employers wouldn't hire us during the fact of maybe we don't have a car or inexperience, just got out of high school. Many reasons behind. So I call that bullshit because I've went through that stage and I actually believe in that teacher who said that to me. And anyways, I went a bit like side topic, but what I'm saying is that giving a trade school, you have to give a pretty good secure employment. It's easy for anyone says, give them apprentice, give them this and that, but at the end of the day, there's a apprentice course, but the employers won't hire us. because we were immature, we were young, and we're not reliable stage. So don't give us that false information on us getting a job, all right, putting us on a trade school. And I've been there. I literally bum around, and I know a couple of my students who dropped out, who went to trades. Some of them didn't work out. I don't communicate with my friends who goes to my old school. Only probably one or two, but just hi and then. That's about it. Okay, let's talk about what is actually going on. All right, as myself, as my experience. I can't say anyone's experience. Okay, there's a lot of. It's not only just the Muslims or Middle Eastern. Now, I'm not racist. All right, all my friends during that time. It's diverse. It's multicultural. Like my friends is Asians, and during that time I got like Middle Easterns, and I mainly hang around with the Pacific Islanders. Okay, so therefore don't come at me and say I'm playing the racist card. I'm not racist. You can speak to my former classmates about this. I'm not racist at all. I was the oddest Chinaman out there, because most of the Chinese and the Asians, they all tend to hang around the same group. I was the only one who's an outsider, outcast myself, and hang around different cultures. So don't play that racist card on me. And during that time, all right. So I'm talking about like 2003 to 2006. I know there's a lot of gang recruitment, not only just the Middle Easterns. I'm pretty sure you guys know the Brothers for Life. There was a heavy. Just at the starting of the recruitment. At the same time, there's a lot of the Asian sides and the Islanders, which we call them the FOBs, and as well they were recruiting at the same time. So it's not only just Middle Eastern. Now, what was it like to be a high school student in the western suburbs? I'm only saying on what I've known in Parramatta and Holroyd and Parramatta, and as well with Granville and up to Rose Hill and Wentworthfield. I don't know other than that, but I'm pretty sure any further than that they have a pretty similar encounter. Now, those high schools who has experienced the same thing, everyone's recruiting and parts by parts. There's a lot of school fights during my years as well. There was like every single week there's always, there's fights in the car park. I think it's a normal thing for being young, and there's a lot of fights at the same time. I thought it was a norm. It was part of the norm. Like there was a lot of fights. It was like everyone's fighting to be the coolest kid and climbing the hierarchy ladder. And I wanted to be part of the ladder as well. So I affiliate with those groups during my younger years. And now I don't affiliate anybody. So if you're wondering what I'm doing now, I'm trying to study. I moved to Melbourne. I try to get a good life. I don't want any negative people. When I mean by negative, it's nothing related to my high school friends, but I just wanted to be a social worker so I can help them out. So that's another story. But what I can say is that during my high school years, a lot of gangsters recruiting. There's a lot of fights, and obviously in the hierarchy, you would date certain girls. That's what everyone's just fighting for. They'll do anything for it, like there's gang tattoos being tatted on their bodies at a very young age, and they have like pocket knives. Some of them are very impressive knives when I look at them. Very, very impressive, those knives. And I know when we have our boys' locker room after PE classes, boys would show their bruises, or they have their fake bandage on their arms or their hand, felt like they got stabbed, or they do something vicious. And a lot of people start to do that in my years as well. And they always talk about like I know certain groups, they talk about like they've experienced using a shotgun or pistol or things like that at a very, very young age. We're talking about like 13, 14, 15, 16. And during my years, it was part of the norm, like to think about that, to hear about that. I thought it was if you talk to any former students about this, they would have said the same thing. Therefore, it was pretty messed up, and I did not know how messed up I was. I thought the whole Sydney was like that. So it was not only just the norm, but it was our socialization was like that. So obviously, the main reason why I made this video is because after I went through this Daily Mail UK about talking about, like, you know, have a bit of depth idea about this child, this 15-year-old child, about the background, and one of them that came across with stood out for me the most is AWA, Arabs with attitudes, and the other one is fuck the police. Now, I still remember my my high school years. We always wanted to hate and, you know, kill police during the younger years, right? I'm still shocked and amazed that it could have been one of us. It could have been me that shot, killed the police. It comes to reality to see that, wow, how stupid I was to even think of that way. That could have been me, and look at that kid. That kid did it. It was just so much hierarchy. There's so much going on. All I can say, this panel talk and this news about tackling, you know, Western suburbs, it's a lot more than that. I don't know how they're gonna tackle it. And it seems like there hasn't been change ever since I left high school. And bringing trade school, come on, man. It's easy for you to establish courses, right, for government to pay for it. But in employers, on the other hand, doesn't even work that way. I reckon the best way, like, even when I dropped out of high school, even if I couldn't get into trade school, I was wanting to go to military. But the military couldn't accept me because I have poor grades on my year 10. I think reducing the education level on the military side, I think most of these students will probably go to military. Like, I think it was a lot better than go to trade school, to be honest with you guys. But also, when I look at it now, man, if I still contact my former classmates, I still hear stories like, you know, some of them gone jail. The lucky ones, the really, really lucky ones who already started a family at a very young age and popping a couple of kids, that's very, very lucky. There's a predominantly, but I still see they're still not very, very well integrated with this society. Their English is pretty good. You know, I was, you know, just that, you know, we were really bad in school. Like, I'll tell you more about what our school routine is like. Because I was dyslexic, but I wasn't diagnosed. I was dyslexic, but I was part of the baddest class. I was put in place in the baddest class. So the baddest class, pretty much the student runs the class, right? We're chucking papers, like, we just swear, we just sing, we don't care. They start fights in the class. So pretty much I was placed on the bad class, and I get to experience all of that. And it affects everyone's learning as well. And it's amazing how I see, looking back at it now, I thought it was part of the norm to be, you know, this vicious, young, ambitious, you know, crazy. But now I'm looking back at it now, I'm like, man, how messed up I was. What the heck I was doing the whole time. Now, before I close this video, I would like to share one of my darkest moments. I would have been killed by now. I would have been dead by now. Is Sukumaran and Andrew Chang was doing, and their group was doing a mailing job. I know I got accepted on doing a mailing job at a very, very young age, but I didn't do it because my friend's been telling me, okay, if you do it, we won't give you the money straight away, but we'll give it to you once their boss has seen the goods, then they give you the money. What I'm trying to tell you now is that there's a lot more than just Middle Eastern. The whole thing it's completely ruined there. But like I said, I don't know what's nowadays, what's it like in my high school, but that's what I can tell you on my experience. I would have been that person. I would have been that in jail. I would have done that. And I hope I can spread this message to someone else who understands what is actually going on in the Western suburbs, because they're all sharing the same network, the same connection. They all affiliate with each other. They're all going for the same thing. And if you speak, okay, you may not take me as an example. You can speak to any of my former classmates or track down any of the formal students and talk about that. You can talk about the highly educated one or the lower educated one. And for me, I was the lower educated one. And that's the video why I should have made this video a lot longer ago. And yeah, I do feel like a shame on my past, on what I tried to do, on everything. But I was a kid. I did not know anything about that. I think we're surrounded by, our socialization is all that already. So it's very, very tough. So to Mark Latham, it's not only just the Muslim, it's across the whole thing. There's a lot of drug activities, selling drugs. There's like a lot of students selling drugs. I never sell drugs, but I know there was a lot of selling drugs, dealing going on. There was a lot going on in my years. There was a lot of knives, guns, drugs. It's all about power. It's all about women. It's about try to be the power structure of the school and go compete with the other schools. And that's it. And that's the video. I should have made this a lot longer ago.